Okay, I took a trip to New Zealand and stumbled into a wood turner, spent a day with him, and it was a revelation from a sanding point of view. That was part of why I wanted to spend the day with him. But he used his trick for sanding was to use oil when he sands, and I was just blown away by it. The inside of that little shake bowl was done with that technique. He starts. What we do typically is I use either on white, on really light woods, then I'll use mineral oil. On browner woods, I use walnut oil. I just use Mahoney's walnut oil. And he used boiled linseed oil. And it actually will harden up, and so does Mahoney's walnut oil. So anyhow, one of the things that he did was he always starts with 60 grit, which that's an anathema for wood turners. I mean, everybody, all these pros go, I can start at 240. Well, hell yeah, if you want to spend a couple of years of your life trying to get tool control, so that you don't have anything in the way. Well, the great thing about 60 is that you can get little bumps and lumps. There's in this one, and I left a couple of little marks in here intentionally, just to show you that you can actually take. There's a little mark right there that you can see that.
All good wood turners do that.
Yeah, even those intentional little marks. On the piece that I had there with the shakes, what I had with that was there were these little shakes came up like this, and I was trying to get, this is a cutaway section of the bowl, kind of came down like this in steps. Now, this was really very hard to get a nice smooth cut and get anything that didn't have any tear out. And so I just went, well, I'm sure that I can sand that out with that 60 grit paper. So I use Vince's Wooden Wonders. It's 2 3/8, and so I'll start with 60, and I'll show you how it works. It works great. Well, it hangs a little over the edge, and if it's not enough, no, I've got a little, I did this with a lip on it intentionally, so I'm going to take this backing pad off, and so on the outside, I've got about 1/4 of an inch of overhang. So when I go in here, it's gonna follow the contour of the little lip on the bowl. So I always, typically what I do is I'll turn the outside of a bowl, get the shape that I want, then I oil it and sand it, and I flip it over, I turn the inside and do the same. And so I've got some walnut oil here.
Was there anything in Mahoney's that's not just in plain walnut oil?
I don't think so, other than it's, I know he He heat treats it. But I think even standard walnut oil will dry.
It'll polymerize in about a month.
Yeah. This does it quite a bit faster than that.
Yeah, you must have a dryer.
Yeah, could be.
You can buy it. Like $300
Yeah. Well, I buy it by the gallon. This is how I stand. Yeah, it's like 18 bucks a quart, or 19 bucks a quart or something like that. It's like 42 or something for a whole gallon.
Oh, that's boiled linseed you're putting on there now?
No, this is Mahoney's walnut oil.
Oh.
Just because that's kind of what I use most of the time. I've done boiled linseed oil, but I don't know why. I'm guessing it's probably not too different from a cost point of view.
Maybe you said this, but when you do it with oil, you can put any kind of finish on that afterwards?
What the thing that you do is you can put what he did is he sprayed it. I turned a big cowrie salad bowl, and when it was done with the linseed oil, he just took it out with a spray gun and shellac, and just put 2 real thin coats of shellac on it. I wait typically a week or something like that, let it kind of seep in, and then you can then I put a couple of coats of shellac on it, and then you can put anything over the shellac. So the little shake bowl, I've got a couple of coats of lacquer that I sprayed over the shellac, so it sort of serves as the.
What about the mineral oil?
Mineral oil doesn't solidify as quickly, so I usually will wait 2 or 3 weeks with mineral oil before I spray shellac over it. But it just soaks in, and so it works fine. So what you reverse your lathe, and turn it relatively slow.
You can get Fred with it then, right?
Pardon?
You get Fred with this stuff, right?
Yeah.
You're reversing.
Actually, it's either gonna hit Ken, it's one of these 2 or 3 people here. It actually doesn't fly too much. I'm gonna slow it down a little bit more because it's.
What's the name of the pad you're using now?
Uh,
The sandpaper?
It's Vince's Wood and Wonders. Vince. Yeah, Vince's Wood and Wonders. Now this is bouncing a little bit because it's. See how I take the right into that little arch. Yeah, I got too much. All right. We have the alternate route for that. I'll set this. I much prefer using it, but you can also just make a little arch, a little curve, and just go in there with that. Run back and forth. What I do typically is 60 obviously is going to leave a lot of scratches, and 2 or 3 passes.
What exactly is the oil doing?
It lubricates the wood and the sandpaper, and it reduces all the dust.
I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it with the light here. All the dust is
It's
just
dropping
dropping right on either side. It's not area
Does
at all.
it plug up the sandpaper a lot more than if you're not using oil?
Yep. And so what I've got one of these crepe sanding disc, and if you want to,
Have you ever used that, I have that sandpaper stuff that pulls in.
Abernet, yeah.
That clogs it up too?
I'm sure it would, yeah, and it would be harder to get the stuff out.
Right.
All you do is you just turn it, put it on kind of slow, and just drop it in there. Run it back and forth 2 or 3 times, and you'll see that it just.
I think that's real.
And it's basically just, oh,
Oh, too bright. And clear.
2 breaks. Yeah, you can see it, and it's round, it's just about gone. You can, one of the nice things is a sanding disc. Now, if I do this, I could probably do 10 bowls with one of these things. Amazing, yeah.
So what if you don't have a reverse on the lathe? Can you reverse your drills?
It'll want to unscrew.
Oh, okay.
So, you probably can't see it, but there's just scads of really big marks, So then the next one that I typically do is, I go from 60 to 80 to 100, 120, 150, 180, 220, 280, 320, and sometimes I'll do 400. I've gone as high as 800. It's just like glass. It's really amazing. But the trick, and of course, everybody knows this one, is the second layer. You got to get. If I'm going to go to 80, I have to get those scratches out. Well, the thing that I've been doing. This guy didn't do this, but it's something that I've come up with. I will go, and so I'll use. I've got a compressor, and so this is a random orbital. I'll take this random orbital. I'll put the 80 on here. I usually put it on straighter than that, but and do it with that. So then now I've got little bitty circles instead of these great big ones. And I can look after the second sanding, the 80 sanding, and I can see that the 45-degree angle roughly marks, or if there's still some there, then I go back, either turn it back on, or I'll just you'll find usually in the side grain where it's softer, that's where they're deeper. And you can just go and you can just knock them out. Then. After I've done, and you don't have to use this, but it works nicely. I've got another one.
Jeff, do you have to reapply more oil on it?
Yeah, you can see that there's a little bit here. About every other time I'll put a little more oil on it. So, and I might, just because I've got some couple of dry spots in some side grain, hit it again. Okay?
Can you put in the newsletter the different manufacturers you're
Yeah.
using?
Yep, I can. Be happy to.
Jeff, have you also found that if you leave it on to penetrate a little longer before you start sanding, does that do anything different to it?
Nope.
Nope, okay,
It
so,
works the same. The one difference would be that if it soaks in, now I've got a real wet spot right here. And one of the things, I've got this was white once. I will usually just kind of wipe it so it doesn't spit oil at me.
Have you ever tried actually flooding the whole surface?
Yep.
Is that your wife's wish
Sanding it while it's flooded?
What's your,
Yeah, I understand that, but have you ever tried that or no?
I'm not following the question.
If you've ever sanded with a lubricant like that before, your sandpaper doesn't clog,
Mhm.
yet it's flooded. Have you ever tried that, or are you just sure that's a waste of oil?
No, I don't, I've never tried it, I just typically just put it on the wood. And, yeah, it does get caught in here and it clogs, and occasionally maybe you even have to flip this on and run it across the crepe in between sandings. But what I do then is, and you can do it just with it too, just by using the disc and then do this by hand. I'm gonna flip this on, and so this is 80. So just put it on one of the discs. Run it up and down. You can see there's nothing coming up here in my nose. Okay, now you probably can't. Okay, so you can still see some of those little marks. Okay, and so there's enough of them that I'm just going to hit it again, kick it up a little bit.
So do you start all your bulbs at 60 now?
Might go down to 80, but you can get little bitty bumps out of it. If I don't need to, I've gone down to 100 a couple of times. But I'm a lot more particular about what I've got on my bowl than I was a year ago. So those are almost gone. There's a couple right there. So then all I do is do those by hand, or I pull up my random orbital and I just go zzz, 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 and
Is there a reason you use the random orbital sometimes and the drill another time?
well, the drill leaves 45-degree angles, cut mark or scratch marks. The random orbital leaves little tiny round ones, and then this leaves radial marks. So you can see this is so filled up.
Just putting a scratch pattern.
So you can see the pattern.
See the pattern for the new grit you're using, that way you
Yeah.
know you got the old grit down. Huh?
That's
Sort of
right.
like using different
Yep.
colors of primer.
So you can actually, you just keep working your way down.
Jeff, question?
Yeah.
You go through a lot of grits that typically I never have. And they say, half the
Yep.
size of this one.
Yeah.
Does it go quicker if you go through all those grits?
I don't think it goes quicker, no. The question you'd have to ask yourself, and you could do an experiment. You could say, okay, well, I'm just going to do 80, like I did for 14 years.
Right.
80, 120, 180, 220, or 220 or 240 or whatever,
Right.
and just work through. The only question would be then is when can you get, with the 120, can I get all of the 80 scratch marks out?
Can you?
I haven't tried it.
Why not?
Because I just, the guy.
You like to say it or what?
I just did what the guy told me. But I have been experimenting, and that'd be a good thing to try.
You can
See if it works.
but it'll just take you longer.
Yeah. Well, and so
So you're not getting anything done, right?
yeah, it might take longer. I don't know. Are you saving time? You certainly will save money on sandpaper because you're only buying half as many
Oh, yeah.
grits.
No,
Well,
'cause you
it
use
does
20,
lubricate.
120.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a, you could argue about it all day long if you wanted to, whether or not you use too much more sandpaper because you have to sand more or what, I don't know. I don't think it makes a whole lot of difference, but it would, certainly would save you money on sandpaper. When I got back, I bought 50 of all 9 varieties.
Yeah.
And I've been doing it that way ever since.
One of the things that I found is effective
Hmm?
is in using this technique, is when you change grits, change rotation.
Yeah, yeah. It really makes a big difference because you just can't tell, if you got these 45-degree big spiral marks, whether that 120. And then when you get up to about 240, you kind of go,
Where'd they come from?
oh, and you have to get back to 120, and you've all done that.
You change rotations on each grit?
Yes, yeah, so I go from the drill to orbital to just handheld, and it works. One of the things, and you can actually see it right here, with the 60 and the 80 grit, when it doesn't dig in real deeply because you've got this big surface that you're sanding. But when you get it up here, and when I was running along here, you could see there's some really deep marks from that 60 grit. So what I would typically do is, maybe on a piece like that, start with 100 or 120. Now that I've got some of those, I'm probably going to have to go to the 80 and work my way back. But then typically when I get to spots like this, I do the whole thing with my fingers to try and get those little ridges, because it's really hard to turn a nice bead on the edge without some little high points. So you just have to be careful when you have some beads. I don't think this would work if you had a beaded bowl. You would just have to do the whole thing with sandpaper and not use anything circular at all. There.
Does the oil help you see those scratch marks more than if weren't there?
It does a little bit because it makes them a little darker. They really kind of pop up. This thing is a godsend. If you're really trying to get scratches out, good lighting is really, really helpful. Pardon? That's right. Let's see. Okay. Then, so basically, and I'm not going to take you through all of them. You understand the principle. I typically twice turn bowls, not always, but most of the time.
This method will probably not work on wetwood.
On wetwood, I haven't done a green one. I haven't done a natural edge bowl.
If you're twice turning it though, you don't have to sand it when you're doing the first turning.
No.
Right, but he's saying, can I do it if I'm doing a single turn natural edge bowl? Can I use oil?
Yes.
And I think you can. Yeah, I think you can. I don't know. I can't recall whether I have or not. The Vince's discs also come in a 3 3/8 variety for the larger one, for the larger pads, which works pretty nicely. You don't use up, if you're doing a 16 or an 18-inch salad bowl, you wouldn't get 10 bowls out of a little 2-inch disc.
Jeff?
Yeah.
Forget your chuck key.
Thank you. I've done that a couple times in my life. No, but it would have come out when I oiled it.
In line of it.
Famous last words.
Would have made Daryl's wife happy.
Now you're gonna turn this in the opposite direction.
This is standard cutting rotation, yes. Yeah, so you can see there's a couple of,
See the grooves, yeah.
yeah, there's some grooves here. We'll see if we can get those. The one downside to this is it's messy. I would not do this. In fact, I've got a
Apron.
no. I've got a
Brand suit.
hazmat suit. Literally, I've got a jumpsuit. Tyvek, yeah. It's actually yellow. And I typically will put that on just because if you're going to go through all the grits, I mean, and you know, so and having compressed air to be able to blow this stuff off, because it'll set up and it'll get you know, in a week or two it'll get really hard and you'll have a mess on your leg.
So do we need to go to the doctor after we leave here?
No, this isn't this. I don't think I'm getting any of these things in my lungs. This is my safety consultant.
Joe, you need more fiber anyways.
Can't hurt very much.
No, right.
We need to change the angle. Change the angle.
I had a couple of really significant little bumps in here, and really easy to go in.
Do you worry about
Thank you, Ray.
sanding through the tear out sections here now?
No, I was just looking at that, and it really looks to me like one of the other nice things is that the oil and the sawdust actually goes into little, you know, there's some little tiny cracks in right there in that
It's a filler.
knot, and it fills it right in. And you put a couple of coats of shellac on it, and you got a filler, and it doesn't even. I mean, it's not CA glue. It's not going to keep it from continuing to crack if it's going to do that. But it does smooth all those little bumps and things. And I think this 100 took all those little things out. So maybe you guys have and you fellas helped me.
Do you worry about it? You can see in there, it's got ridges there that are still not down.
Oh, that,
do you
that,
take those
a
down?
little darker? Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They're,
So Jeff, you mentioned CA glue. Is that track rotated 180 degrees from there?
yes.
Is that CA
Yeah, I did this, like I said, I probably turned this 4 or 5 years ago, and there was a crack that started, so I put some CA glue on it, and that's what you get. That was before I learned what was it? I don't want to say sanding sealer, but it's the
Fix it?
yeah, fixative, yeah.
What is that?
The workable fixative, it's Krylon, it's basically a watered down lacquer.
So the Krylon paint is what you use then?
It's a Krylon, it's a clear fixative, and we've got cans of it that we sell. And if you spray that on
How much do
before,
you spray on? Do you spray on quite a bit then?
Yeah.
or-
yeah,
Spray it on before you put the glue on, and then you just put the glue on the crack.
I guess I bought one of those cans and I tried it and I didn't think it worked.
gotta put quite a little bit
I
on
must
it.
not have put enough on.
Yeah.